There is a quiet, invisible switch happening in the American food supply. Walk down any grocery aisle. The bright yellow packets of Splenda, the pale blue bags of Equal, the pink Sweet and Low sitting next to the sugar caddies at every diner in the country. And you'll see them. They promise 0 calories. They promise a way to have your sweetness and your waistline too. But what if the promise is a lie? What if the thing you're reaching for to be healthy is actually working against you from the inside? Today, we are going to expose the 10 artificial sweeteners that are hiding in plain sight and why you need to stop using them. Then, we will give you the 3 natural alternatives that are actually safe. Let's pull back the curtain. Number 1. Aspartame. If you have ever twisted the cap off a Diet Coke or a can of Coke Zero, you have swallowed aspartame. Sold under brand names like Equal and NutraSweet, it is the most common artificial sweetener in the United States and has been since the 1980s. But in 2023, the World Health Organization's cancer research arm classified aspartame as a possible carcinogen based on limited evidence linking it to liver cancer. The classification is called Group 2B, meaning it is not a smoking gun, but it is enough of a concern that global health authorities are now urging more research and caution. This is not a label they hand out lightly. Beyond the cancer question, aspartame has a well-documented dark side for certain people. It contains an amino acid called phenylalanine, which the vast majority of us can process, but for the roughly 1 in 15,000 Americans born with a genetic condition called phenylketonuria, or PKU, it is literally toxic. Aspartame is also a well-known trigger for headaches and migraines, a fact acknowledged in medical literature going back decades. The sweet taste in your mouth might come at a cost to your brain. Is that really a trade-off worth making? Number 2. Sucralose. You probably know sucralose by its brand name, Splenda. It is the yellow packet, the one that promised it tastes like sugar because it's made from sugar. The marketing was genius, but in 2023, researchers at North Carolina State University published a study that should have been front-page news. They found that when your body digests sucralose, it creates a chemical byproduct that is genotoxic. Let me say that in plain English. It breaks your DNA. The study showed this compound effectively snapped apart DNA in human blood cells. It was also linked to leaky gut syndrome, a condition where the lining of your intestines gets worn thin and permeable, letting things into your bloodstream that do not belong there. And here's the part that should make you angry. The researchers found that trace amounts of this genotoxic substance are already present in off-the-shelf Splenda products sitting on store shelves right now. A 2025 USC study took things further, using brain scans on 75 young adults and finding that sucralose-sweetened drinks actually increased hunger. Unlike sugar, which triggers the brain to feel full, sucralose lit up the hypothalamus in a way that said, eat more. So you are consuming a substance that damages your DNA, weakens your gut, and makes you hungrier, all while delivering exactly 0 calories. That is not a diet aid. It is a biological trick played on your own body. Number 3. Saccharin. This pink packet holds the dubious honor of being the oldest artificial sweetener still on the market, Sweet and Low. Saccharin was discovered in 1879 when a chemist working with coal tar derivatives noticed his bread tasted oddly sweet. That origin story alone tells you something. Saccharin has survived multiple attempts by the FDA to ban it outright. In the 1970s, studies linked high doses of saccharin to bladder cancer in laboratory rats. The public fought the ban, so Congress compromised. From 1977 all the way until the year 2000, every single packet of Sweet and Low sold in the United States carried a government-mandated cancer warning label. That label was eventually removed after scientists argued that the mechanism causing bladder cancer in rats does not work the same way in humans. Fine, but have we really closed the book on saccharin? The 2025 Brazilian study that tracked sweetener intake and brain health did not let saccharin off the hook either. It was one of the 6 sweeteners directly tied to faster cognitive decline, specifically in memory and verbal fluency. The pink packet has been on the table at diners for over a century. Maybe it is time to leave it there. Number 4. Acesulfame potassium. Acesulfame potassium, often shortened to ACE-K or sold as Sunette and Sweet One, is the sweetener that hides in plain sight. Because it is considerably cheaper than aspartame and about 200 times sweeter than sugar, food manufacturers love blending it with other sweeteners to cut costs while masking any unpleasant aftertaste. If you read the ingredient list on a can of Coke Zero or a protein bar, you will often see ACE-K listed right alongside aspartame or sucralose. It is the wingman of the artificial sweetener world. So is ACE-K safe? The official FDA position is yes, within the acceptable daily intake. The European Food Safety Authority also released a 2025 reevaluation concluding that ACE-K does not pose a genotoxicity risk. But here is where the story gets murkier. Preclinical studies, meaning research done on animals and in labs, not yet fully confirmed in large human trials, have reported that ACE-K can alter the composition of gut bacteria, disrupt how the body handles fats, and trigger inflammatory pathways. A comprehensive 2025 review published in a scientific journal acknowledged these concerns and noted that while the sweetener appears well tolerated in humans at normal levels, significant uncertainties remain regarding chronic, cumulative, and population-specific risks. In other words, the science is not settled. The researchers do not yet know what happens when a person consumes low doses of ACE-K daily for decades, especially when combined with the other chemicals in ultra-processed food. You are the long-term experiment. Number 5. Erythritol. Erythritol might be the sweetener that shocks people the most on this list because it has been heavily marketed as a clean, natural alternative. It is a sugar alcohol found in small amounts in fruits like watermelon and pears, but the version added to your keto ice cream and protein bars is commercially produced in massive quantities. The researchers in 2023 analyzed blood samples from thousands of people in the US and Europe and found that those with higher levels of erythritol in their blood faced a significantly elevated risk of major heart events, heart attack, stroke, or death over a 3-year follow-up period. The mechanism was even more troubling. The study found that after healthy volunteers drank a beverage containing a typical amount of erythritol, the levels in their blood stayed dangerously elevated for 2 full days. Those levels were well within the range where the researchers had observed increased clotting risk. The study was what scientists call an association study, not definitive proof of causation, but the signal was strong enough that the Calorie Control Council, an industry group, rushed to issue a rebuttal. Number 6. Xylitol. Xylitol is often sold as a natural sugar alcohol derived from birch trees, and it has one genuinely legitimate claim to fame. It is good for your teeth. Studies show it can reduce cavity-causing bacteria in the mouth. That is why you find it in sugar-free gum, toothpaste, and mouthwash. But xylitol comes with a serious dark side that does not get nearly enough attention. It is extremely toxic to dogs. Even a small amount, the contents of a few pieces of sugar-free gum, can cause a rapid, life-threatening drop in blood sugar and acute liver failure in a canine. If you have a dog in your home, any product sweetened with xylitol needs to be treated like a loaded weapon kept far out of reach. For humans, though, xylitol is not exactly an innocent bystander. Because it is a sugar alcohol, it is not fully broken down and absorbed in the small intestine. Instead, it travels to the large intestine, where gut bacteria ferment it. For many people, this means gas, bloating, cramping, and diarrhea. And the 2025 Brazilian cognitive health study I mentioned earlier, xylitol made the list. Along with aspartame and saccharin, it was one of the sweeteners most strongly associated with faster memory decline and reduced verbal fluency over the 8-year tracking period. The dental benefits of xylitol are real, but when the trade-off includes digestive misery, a lethal risk to your pet, and a possible toll on your brain, the price of good for your teeth starts to look awfully steep. Number 7. Maltitol. Maltitol deserves a special place on this list because it is by far the sneakiest sugar alcohol currently allowed in American food. If you have ever eaten a sugar-free chocolate bar, a low-carb cookie, or a protein bar that tastes suspiciously good, and then spent the next few hours regretting every life choice that led you to that wrapper, you have met maltitol. Here's the trick. Most sugar alcohols pass through the body mostly undigested, which is why they do not spike your blood sugar. Maltitol does not play by those rules. It is partially absorbed, and it has a glycemic index that is nearly half that of table sugar. That means it will spike your insulin and glucose more than any other sugar alcohol on this shelf. For someone with diabetes or prediabetes reaching for a sugar-free product thinking they are being responsible, maltitol is a hidden landmine. Then comes the digestive price tag. Maltitol pulls water into your intestines, and what does not get absorbed ferments rapidly in your colon. The result is predictable. gas, bloating, and often urgent, explosive diarrhea. The combination is particularly cruel. Unlike other sugar alcohols that cause stomach trouble without affecting blood sugar, maltitol manages to do both. You get the insulin spike you were trying to avoid and the digestive chaos you never signed up for. Number 8. Sorbitol. If maltitol is the sneaky blood sugar spiker of the sugar alcohol family, sorbitol is the granddaddy of digestive destruction. It has been used as a laxative in medical settings specifically because of its powerful ability to draw water into the bowel and get things moving. The problem is that food manufacturers put it into sugar-free candy, gum, and diet foods without making it nearly clear enough what is about to happen. If you have ever seen the infamous one-star Amazon reviews for sugar-free gummy bears that involve descriptions of gastrointestinal distress so extreme they have become internet legend, you have witnessed sorbitol in action. Those stories are not jokes. They are reports from real people who had no idea what they were ingesting. Sorbitol is a polyol, part of the FODMAP family of carbohydrates that are notoriously difficult to digest for anyone with irritable bowel syndrome or a sensitive stomach. It ferments in the gut, produces gas, and causes bloating, cramping, and diarrhea. For people with IBS, sorbitol is often a major trigger food that should be strictly avoided, yet it lurks in countless sugar-free products without prominent warning labels. And like the other sugar alcohols on this list, sorbitol did not escape the notice of the 2025 Brazilian cognitive health researchers. It was actually the sweetener consumed in the highest amounts by study participants, and it was linked to a significantly faster rate of memory decline over 8 years. Sorbitol is not just rough on your stomach, it might be rough on your brain. Number 9. Neotame. Neotame is a name you have probably never read on a label, and that is exactly how the food industry likes it. It is a chemical cousin of aspartame, but it is wildly more potent. Neotame is between 7,000 and 13,000 times sweeter than table sugar and up to 60 times sweeter than aspartame itself. Because so little of it is needed to achieve a sweet taste, manufacturers can use microscopic amounts that fall below the thresholds requiring prominent disclosure in some countries. It is approved by the FDA and classified as safe, but here is the catch. Neotame is relatively new, and the long-term data on what it does to the human body is thin. What data does exist is deeply concerning. A 2024 study published in the journal Frontiers in Nutrition exposed human intestinal cells and gut bacteria to neotame at levels that a person could realistically consume. The results were shocking. Neotame caused the intestinal epithelial cells, the very lining of your gut, to die. It disrupted the gut barrier, making the intestinal wall leakier. It also caused pathogenic changes in model gut bacteria, increasing their ability to form biofilms and adhere to and invade the gut lining. Let me translate this for you. This sweetener damaged the physical structure of the gut and made harmful bacteria more aggressive. Number 10. Advantame. Advantame is the most potent artificial sweetener currently approved by the FDA for use in the American food supply. It is 20,000 times sweeter than table sugar. To put that into perspective, a single gram of Advantame can sweeten the equivalent of over 40 pounds of sugar. It was approved for general use in the United States in 2014, making it one of the newest additions to the chemical sweetener lineup. The FDA based its approval on over 30 studies examining toxicity, metabolism, and long-term effects, and officially, Advantame is considered safe within established intake limits. But here is what nobody seems to be talking about. Advantame is synthesized from aspartame and isovanillin. Like aspartame, it breaks down in the body into phenylalanine and methanol. For the roughly 1 in 15,000 Americans with PKU, this matters. More broadly, the sheer novelty of Advantame means we have almost no real-world data on what happens when millions of people consume it daily for decades. The FDA's 30 studies were not tracking brain aging, gut microbiome disruption, or long-term metabolic effects in diverse human populations over a lifetime. They were checking for acute toxicity. The food industry is quietly slipping a sweetener with the potency of a pharmaceutical into products that are not even required to flag it in a way consumers will notice. Now, I know that list was heavy. It was supposed to be. Because if you are going to protect yourself, you need to know exactly what you're up against. But not every no-calorie sweetener is a chemical trap. Some of them actually come from real plants with real history and real science backing them up. we are not going to leave you with just a list of things to fear. We are going to give you the tools to fight back. So keep watching, because right now we will reveal the 3 sweeteners that are actually safe, and one of them may completely change the way you think about sugar-free food forever. Number 1, stevia. Stevia is different. It is not a laboratory creation or a chemical derivative. It is extracted from the leaves of a plant called Stevia rebaudiana, a green shrub native to South America that has been used for centuries by indigenous peoples to sweeten tea and medicine. The sweetness comes from natural compounds called steviol glycosides, which are 200 to 300 times sweeter than sugar but contribute 0 calories. In the United States, stevia is sold under brand names like Truvia and Purevia, and it is classified by the FDA as generally recognized as safe. This is not a warning story. This is the alternative that actually holds up under scrutiny. A major 2025 systematic review that analyzed 27 individual studies found that when people replaced sugar with stevia, they saw measurable improvements. Fasting blood glucose went down, total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol dropped, body weight and BMI decreased, blood pressure improved. These are not tiny, negligible effects. These are the metabolic markers that matter. In head-to-head comparisons, stevia consistently outperformed artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose on blood sugar control. And when compared to saccharin, stevia was associated with less weight gain. Some people report a slight licorice-like aftertaste, which has become less noticeable as extraction methods improve. If you are looking for a no-calorie sweetener that comes from nature, has centuries of traditional use behind it, and has modern research backing its safety, stevia is the one to reach for. Number 2, monk fruit. Monk fruit extract, also known as luohanguo, comes from a small green melon that has been grown for hundreds of years in the misty mountains of southern China. The sweetness does not come from sugars or lab-engineered chemicals. It comes from antioxidant compounds called mogrosides, which are roughly 150 to 250 times sweeter than table sugar. In traditional Chinese medicine, monk fruit was used to treat coughs, sore throats, and digestive issues. Modern science is now backing up some of what those ancient practitioners observed. Research published in 2025 and 2026 has identified over 24 antioxidant compounds in monk fruit that target multiple biological pathways involved in the body's inflammatory response. A 2024 review in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed that monk fruit extract demonstrates real antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-diabetic properties in laboratory and animal studies. The sweetener has no effect on blood sugar or insulin, making it a solid option for people managing diabetes. The FDA classifies monk fruit extract as GRAS. The main reason it has not completely taken over the sweetener aisle is cost. Monk fruit is harder and more expensive to cultivate than chemical sweeteners, so pure monk fruit products carry a higher price tag. But when you look at what you are paying for versus what you are avoiding with the artificial alternatives, a few extra dollars for a natural sweetener that may actually have health benefits instead of health risks feels like a very reasonable trade. Number 3, allulose. Allulose is the newest entry among the truly safe sweeteners, but it has quickly become one of the most promising. Chemically, it is classified as a rare sugar. It exists in tiny quantities in figs, raisins, and maple syrup, but it can be commercially produced from corn or fructose. What makes allulose special is that it tastes remarkably close to regular sugar, with almost none of the chemical aftertaste that plagues stevia and monk fruit. It also browns and caramelizes like sugar, which makes it a rare no-calorie sweetener that actually works well in baking and cooking. But the real headline with allulose is what it appears to do for your metabolism. A growing body of research, including a major 2025 study published in a top-tier scientific journal, has shown that allulose stimulates the release of GLP-1, the same gut hormone that popular weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy are designed to boost. GLP-1 is your body's natural signal for fullness and blood sugar control. Allulose triggers that signal. In animal models, allulose reduced food intake, improved glucose tolerance, and decreased visceral body fat. Researchers also found that timing the sweetener in the evening helped correct late-night overeating patterns. The FDA has approved allulose as GRAS, and studies so far show it is well tolerated with no significant side effects. Imagine a sweetener that tastes like sugar, has nearly 0 calories, does not spike your blood sugar, and actually tells your brain you are full. That is allulose. Of all the options on the safe list, this one may be the closest thing to a free lunch that food science has ever found. If you want more content like this that pulls back the curtain on what is really hiding in your food, hit subscribe. And tell me in the comments which artificial sweetener surprised you the most and which of the safe alternatives are you actually going to try. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.